Hi FCST 1010 students, this is Dr. Wheeler. Happy 4th of July. Today is Saturday. I'm recording a day early because I will be leaving to go out of town tomorrow, July the 5th. So pray for my safety on my trip to Mississippi and New Orleans. We carry on though regardless of whether we're out of town or in town, and this week we pick up from Wellness and Stress Management to Module 6, Memory, Studying, and Test Taking. And I feel that every module that we do is important and that you should be writing things down from every single module to keep throughout your college career so you can go back and reference it. But this week's module is really important because this is things that you can use every week in class. It starts out with memory. And before you watch this video, you need to get a sheet of paper, number the sheet of paper from 1 to 13, and then play the video. At the end, I think it'll give you your answers. Then you'll kind of get to see how well your memory is. Then that's step 2. Step 3 is memory techniques video. It gives you 3 ways to help improve your memory. It's a short 3-minute video, but it has fantastic points in it. This next one, caring for your brain. Your memory works in mysterious ways. You know, last week from our wellness and stress management that sleep deprivation can cause a lot of things. It can, of course, it affects your hand-eye coordination, it affects your driving skills, it affects your memory. And one of those videos last week, that's the one thing that I pulled out of the video, is that it affects your memory when you don't get enough sleep. So if you're cramming for a test all night, you expect to wake up and remember everything that you crammed for. Sleep deprivation just does right the opposite. So whenever you want to remember things, you need to get enough sleep. And exercise. Oxygen is food for your brain. Eat right. If you're sluggish, you will not. Your memory skill will be terrible. Use your brain. Condition your brain by doing puzzles, games, reading, solving math problems, storytelling. I like to watch Jeopardy. I know that sounds kooky, but I do. I like to watch Jeopardy, and I used to love to do crossword puzzles. I mean, I'm not a crossword nerd or anything like that, but I don't know, it keeps my brain sharp. A lot of the games that we play on our iPad and our iPhone, they really don't test your brain. If y'all can think of some, please share it with the class. Next, you need to be motivated to learn. You have to have a reason to remember. Not every class that you take at Georgia Highlands is going to motivate you. You're probably thinking right now, why do I have to take all this? Why can't I just go straight into my major? This has nothing to do with my major. But guys, it's so crazy because I was the same way. Why do I have to take all this useless stuff? But it really taught me so much. You build upon the skills just like you do when you start out in kindergarten and first grade. You build on them every year and until they all kind of go together to make sense. It's the same way in college. You need these classes. And remember, they're getting you to your goal of your degree. Not every class is going to mean something to you, but reaching your goal of getting a college degree, that's enough to want to motivate you in every class to help you remember. Think positive. If you start out with a bad attitude, I'm not going to do well on this test, I don't know any of it, you're probably right. You won't do well on it. And in classes past, and FCST is so hilarious. I asked students about how do you feel, and y'all have to answer this. How did you feel before the last test that you took? And everybody says, well, I felt pretty good. Well, did you have test anxiety? No, not really. Well, how did you think? What do you think you could have done differently? Every single one of them says the same thing. I could have studied more. it's kind of a no-brainer, guys. If you don't study, you're not going to do well on a test, whether you remember it or not. If you do not study, you will not do well on a test. It's just common sense. Your weekly journal this week, which is due before Wednesday at midnight, is how do you feel when you take a test? Are there certain study strategies that you use when you take a test? Are you nervous before a test? And if you are, how do you calm yourself? And I hope we get 100% participation for this journal, because I really want y'all to share with each other. If you're nervous, how do you calm yourself down? Moi, if I study, I'm not nervous because I go into it feeling confident that I've done everything I can to do well on the test. If I do not study, my anxiety level goes up because I'm not sure of myself. I'm mad at myself. I'm stressed, which just exacerbates my lack of memorization. So, and I calm myself by studying, and I also stick a peppermint in my mouth before a test. And if you think that it's bogus, it's not. It opens up your brain, and I don't know how it works. I like peppermint oil, so you can sniff peppermint oil. I wouldn't do it in front of a professor. They might not know what you're sniffing. I have these little peppermint oil beads. They give you fresh breath, and you can pop them in your mouth. And you can just put a good old-fashioned red and white peppermint in your mouth. When I taught second grade, I used to give them to all my kids, and I used to give them to my college students before a test. And remember, journal entry is due Wednesday before midnight, and respond to 2 students. Day 2, step 1 is a video over test taking tips. And I put my little hint right here. Putting a piece of peppermint in your mouth before a test will open up your brain. What it is, it kind of calms you down, to be honest with you. If you do have any kind of test anxiety, and a lot of people are in denial and say, well, I really don't have test anxiety. Watch this over managing your test anxiety anyway. If you go into a test, even if you studied and you know it 100%, if you don't have a dab of apprehension, you might be overconfident. I don't know that I've ever gone into a test and thought, I'm going to make 100 on it. You always think, I'm going to do well, but I just don't know how well. Day 2, step 2, click on the link for more test-taking tips, great infographic. When you pull up this infographic, guys, when you click on the link, left click on this infographic and it'll blow it up so you can read it. And it really is cool. The next one, step 3, is just an inspirational video. It's short and sweet. It's 5 minutes, and it's how to make things memorable. If you think about things you remember from your youth, it always has to do with either family. I can remember my grandmother, and one of our students in this class, Bryce Pitts, I went to church with her parents, and after we left church every Sunday, my grandmother would make this huge spread. Biscuits and cornbread and black-eyed peas and everything. I remember everything about how her kitchen smelled. Pleasant things will make you remember it. People you love will make you remember it. If anything bad happens to you, like when I was learning to swim and my dad kept pulling the float away from me, that was memorable because it scared me. How are you going to make a class memorable to you? Or how are you going to make the information memorable to you when you've really got no, it doesn't have to do with family or an event that happened in your life. And it's like I said earlier, make it memorable because you know it is keeping you on the path towards your goal of getting a college degree. That's what made every class memorable to me. And guess what? You learn something along the way, and maybe it's something that you didn't know, and that's what makes you a brighter student. Last but not least, your challenge for this week, challenge 6, read these 2 articles below. They're not very long. One's over, well, I think they both are over stress reduction and test anxiety. Print or write down 3 strategies from the articles that you feel will be helpful to remember before you take your next test. Write 1 paragraph for each strategy that you choose and label each paragraph 1, 2, and 3. Explain in the paragraph why you chose the strategy and how you use it, and how you will use it. So you'll have 3 paragraphs total. So again, read this article over test anxiety, and then read this one over tips for test taking. Pick out 3 strategies that you plan on using to help you with testing, and just tell a little something about the strategy, and then tell why you chose the strategy and how you'll use it in the future. Upload that under Assessments Dropbox Challenge 6 before Sunday at midnight, and tomorrow will be the 5th, so that means on the 12th of July is when it's due. The 12th of July is when it's due. And I think the 8th is when your weekly journal is due. I'll put the due dates on the front page, though. So, have a good 4th. Be careful. Watch your surroundings. I'm not one of the, I don't want to henny-penny you guys about alerts or anything like that. Just keep a watchful eye. If you're watching this today, I thoroughly expect that none of you will watch this until tomorrow. But anyway, I hope you had a 4th of July, or you're going to have a 4th of July, and be careful. Take care.